This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness. And let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode in the age of COVID-19. Diane,
Good morning, Eric. Happy American Black History Month.
Oh God. Oh God. I
You know,
can't.
every day is Black History.
Well, that's
Not
why.
just one month. It
Right.
happens every day.
Right. So
And then
I
I talked
refuse.
about is it Mary Wells? No, not Mary Wells. Go ahead.
I
So,
refuse. Good morning, Vincent. I know he's on. He's got his phone muted. He's out and about.
Good morning.
I've decided something else. New rule.
oh God.
I am no longer going to acknowledge Black History Month.
I acknowledge Nancy Wilson.
Well,
today.
we could do that, but I'm not going to acknowledge Black History Month because it feeds into a narrative that suggests that we should have a month, right? Just
No, it does not feed into that.
sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
It
Because it
feeds
started out.
acknowledgement of how great we are, so that other people know how great we are, and so we know how
So
great we are.
right. So I want to ask this question though, right? So no, and this is why I say it feeds into a narrative. Because we should be as exuberant the other 364, the other 330 days or 35 days out of the year talking about Black history, right? But wait a minute. But much like Valentine's Day, right? We wait to the one allocated day or month in this case to show the love. And so we've been socialized to do that. And that's why I'm saying we're feeding into the narrative. So you have more people during the month of February talking about Black history than you do any other time of the year. So when I say feeding into the narrative, we've been socialized to, okay, get ready. Right? Same thing with Kwanzaa, right? We have those principles, right? And everybody posts it up on their pages, but they don't live by it. Same thing with church. On Sunday, you go and, you get your fire insurance, and then Saturday through, or Monday through Saturday, you're running around reckless thinking that you covered with,
the blood of Jesus.
with fire retardant. Right? You figure you could run up in the club. You could drop it like it's hot now because see, we socialize to, and so let us just look and say we are American history. We are. And this notion of saying, well, Black History Month, so let us do what? Do what? Do what?
Celebrate us.
I celebrate us every day.
Well, then I should see on your Facebook page every day an acknowledgement on how great Black people are. And that means a shout out to somebody in the past.
Listen. So, no. You know how I celebrate us? See, I'm not emotionalizing like that, right?
I ain't emotionalizing it.
Now, it's emotionalizing. See, you know how I celebrate us? I celebrate us by having a hard
We don't have enough doctors. We have less than 0.5% doctors, Black doctors. You know why? Because we don't have enough around for other children to see, I can do that. So if they can't see it and they're stuck in their bubble, in their city or their town, wherever they are, and even more so even with COVID, if they don't see these things, how do they know that they too can be a doctor or a lawyer or a judge or whatever, or an electrician or engineer, if they don't see it? If they only hear about the same people all the time, Martin Luther King, Malcolm, if they only hear about these people, how do they know there are other options that can be done?
Cry me a river.
Well, I just did.
The one thing is that you have to realize that Black History Month used to be Negro History Week, established by Garland Woodson, and it moved to a month. And it was basically designed to do exactly what Diane said, because we know that he who has the goal makes the rules. He also changes the history. So white America was changing the history to make it seem like Blacks had no contribution in everything, and we did remarkable things. So he thought that was good. And I applaud Tom Joyner with his show, because he used to have a Black History segment every day. Black history should be a 365.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't want to settle.
Let me finish one thing. And the most important thing that I believe it should be a 365-day-a-year thing, because we don't need idiots like Trump who gets up there and talk about Frederick Douglass like, he just got promoted yesterday.
Oh my God.
Right.
Can
So
we have a day without Trump name?
no, you know what? I was watching the news yesterday. I was watching George Stephanopoulos. Well, like not well this week, but he wasn't on. He had somebody filling in for him, and they were talking about Trump, and they were saying the media is obsessed with Trump. People are obsessed with him, and the guy hasn't really been public in a while now, and people are they can't get enough of him.
Stop it.
Yeah, they can't get enough of him.
I'm trying. But anyway, back to Black people. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't really-
so I want to have the conversation. So for me, Diane, so if we're gonna talk about Black history, or if we're gonna talk,
We don't have to talk about.
I don't want to talk about, but I don't even want to talk about Black history.
About us.
I don't even want to talk. No, I don't even want to talk about Black history. I want to talk about American history. See, because when we talk about American history, and when we talk about it accurately, right, then we are interwoven into the very fabric of it. But when we separate and say, well, let's have a conversation about Black history. So now you got Black history and what else? I'm saying we got American history.
I disagree. We should talk about specifically Black people.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about bottom people. That's not what I'm saying.
Stop calling me a bottom person. MF, I ain't a bottom person.
Yeah, you are. You're in denial. You're like you're like LeVar Burton in Roots, right? Where you want to continue to call yourself Kunta. Okay, go ahead.
I just need 6 more weeks of winter and I'll pass the paper bag test. No, I am not a bottom person.
No. You are part of the bottom people. Yes, you are.
Oh, Lordy.
Yes, you are. And until we have those honest conversations, right? So that is the history, right? And interwoven in that is our journey in this history. But to bifurcate it and say, well, you have American history and you have Black history. No, you have history. And let's just talk about history. And then when we do it, we'll have our specific chapters in American history. And they will all be very, very ugly, right?
Well, the ugly part that I find is that we're consistently divided by small things like semantics and what we're called, because and what people want to consider themselves. But yet we're not looking at what the effect of the calling and consideration has done from the other people, keeping us oppressed. We cannot move forward because we're always arguing over the little stuff.
Right. So I think that it is. I think to say it's semantics, right? What? Yeah. Yeah. To say it's semantics. To say it is semantics. Say that there's nothing bigger than understanding who you are. Nothing bigger than understanding, right? Than having that foundational knowledge. Nothing. I mean, to me, there's nothing bigger than having that foundational knowledge and then being able to move on from that point. But the ugliness, the level of discomfort in recognizing and in facing who you are. It's like an alcoholic saying, well, don't say semantics whether you say you're an alcoholic or you're a social drinker. Right?
Dealing with a person who does the counseling, they go through the exact same thing. Alcoholics say, well, at least I ain't on heroin. Heroin say, well, at least I ain't on crack. And crack people say, well, at least I ain't drinking.
Right, but without going too far down this rabbit hole, right? And you ever go to an AA meeting, the first thing that they do is they stand up and acknowledge what they are.
That's the whole point.
So I'm saying let's acknowledge. And so when Diane says I'm not a bottom person, I'm saying let's acknowledge who we are and then move from there.
get Diane's perspective. She's not going to acknowledge that she's a member of a particular caste that does not favor her, and nor would anybody else in their right mind.
For Diane, don't speak for them.
Okay, but it's difficult for people to speak.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
It is difficult for a lot of people to speak about a specific caste in which they did not write, did not attribute to, yet considers to victimize them.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not talking about the level of difficulty, right? We understand that, right? Because we talk about being socialized. So over your lifetime, you've been socialized to believe that this is your lot in life, right? And others have been socialized to believe that that is their lot in life. And so we first have to, I think, again, and so in celebrating our history, right? It is saying here, this is where this is it. This is the beginning, right? And now here's the progression. And then here's where we are. But we're here because of these things, right? Always tying it back. And then how do we move forward, right? But you move forward by understanding the systems.
Well, how about if we just say we're here by one particular way or another, we're being treated together by this particular way, and we want to move forward for justice and equality.
So what you can't do is tell me or other people how they should treat Black History Month in the month of February because you want to be a bottom person and disagree.
No. I'm saying to you that I am not doing that. You asked me, and I said, yeah. And if other people decide that they want to go ahead and do it, so yep, Black History went from a week to a month. And I'm looking and saying,
and on my feed it's a year because I talk about Black people every day.
Oh, and I do too. For the last 4 years on this show, I've been talking about bottom people, but and they've gone through iterations, right?
Henceforth, the year is the birth of the 1619 Project.
So anyway, if you want to talk about history, present, and past, the daughters of Malcolm X civil rights attorneys say that they have evidence that proves the NYPD, the FBI conspired to have him assassinated.
Yeah.
So the daughters are working with the civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, and they revealed that they said they have evidence that proves that these people conspired together. And 3 men were convicted, but over the years there have been conspiracy theories about whether someone else was responsible.
Right. So you know what? So I want to stop there. And here's what I'll say. And so this is the craziness, right? So now you got a bunch of people, because let's talk about where it happened, right? It all happened, right? A lot of this stuff happened in the Newark and New York area, right? We talk about Mos 25, right? We talk about all of those people. But right now, Diane.
So
right.
Where's Mos 25 for people who are listening that don't know?
It was on South Orange Avenue in Newark, right?
Thank
you. But right now,
is that the one across the street where we go to the store?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but right now, Diane, right? You had the mayor of Newark just bring in another high-level law enforcement person that doesn't look like us, right? Ambrose is retiring. He brought in another person. But meanwhile, they're having this conversation about equity and social justice and yada, 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 right? You've got Fontura, who's been sheriff. He's running in the 11th term, right? And you've got a guy who is more than qualified in John Arnold, right? But Black folks won't be taking a look at him. Right? But we want to have this conversation about the FBI. We already know. So this is my point. We know what they do. We know. But we don't do anything. Nothing. Black History Month, right? So in the middle of Black History Month, the largest city in the state of New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. Couldn't find it within itself with all of the Black electeds to bring in a Black person or a bottom person to replace Ambrose. Right? So I don't want to have this conversation about these other people. Like, we got history being written.
Why does the conversation differ from the family now having a guy's written confession about the FBI wanting to kill or having Malcolm X killed?
What?
The original conversation was the family now has the police officer.
I understand that, but my point to you is this: that now bottom people want to get emotionalized over this. Oh, we got him. Oh, we got the evidence. Oh, we got the whatever. Oh, we should pay attention and focus on that. And I'm like, but okay, but while you're focusing on that, there are other injustices that are happening under the same goddamn system. And what are you doing about that? That's my point.
Well, that's what this actually states. He says the question is, will they to finally get restorative justice?
For whom?
In all actuality, no.
For whom?
For the guy who did not.
Right, but right. So no. So listen to what I'm saying to you. So right. So there were. You're not hearing what I'm saying. There are people right now, and in fact, Michael Barbie wrote a piece on his Facebook page about this. There are people in the neighborhood who know. They knew, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's on now.
I'm not talking about Netflix. The hell with Netflix. Before Netflix. See, this is what I'm saying. So until it becomes a docudrama, till it becomes some shit that we can pop some popcorn over and ooh and ah about, right? I'm telling you, take the emotional shit out of it. This is real stuff, right? That's why I said local, right? Local. Not something that happens somewhere else. I'm saying let's keep it right here in Newark. They know. They knew. Did nothing. Nothing.
Well, the second in command of New Jersey went to the funeral. So everybody knows, Eric. The problem is now they have, and now they're going from what everybody thought or knew to now physical evidence and a confession, giving restorative justice to the man who was unjustly accused and sentenced to the death of an American icon.
Oh, God.
They're not waiting for evidence to come forth and somebody to say, oh, we knew. The FBI and the police department of New York were a part of setting it up. Of course they knew because they created the situation. So they know exactly who was sent in to do the killing. This is past Netflix and all this. This is what they're saying.
Right, but right now, see, because we're caught up in the movies now, right? We're caught up in now. If it made it to the big screen, it must be something worth paying attention to. I mean, come on.
We're not caught up in that.
Yeah, we are. That's why you said Netflix.
No, Eric, it's just a simple fact that now the movie has caught up with reality. That's all.
No, what the movie has done. See, I tell you,
and I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the documentary.
It's just equalized everything. It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything.
So, because here's what I'll say to you, Vincent, and we got to call it. We'll take the call in a second. Here's what I'll say to you: if it's done something. If it's waking people up to the injustices, right, to the lack of compassion that law enforcement has for bottom people, how you got this guy gonna win his 12th term or 11th term or 12th, whatever it is now, right? So when you say, so these are the performance indicators that I look at. I go, yeah, okay. So these black people that we say are woke now, that want different now, I'm going, no, because I'm looking over here. They're not moving. They're not saying anything. They're not doing anything. See, they're only focused on this one thing now, and that's because the system still works where they push out a narrative, they promote it in such a way, and then people become emotionalized over it. But the larger thing, there's still no accountability for. Call or go.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. I think this latest revelation is, along with Judas and the Black Messiah, is proving why a lot of our organizations are inept or not live up to their potential, because there's always some kind of infiltration that stifles and extinguish any fire or momentum of power within our community. And it leads to this gradualism that, oh, we got to pray and hope and things will be better, and some delusional mindset that leads to a inept sheriff for all of these years, continuing to perpetrate that whiteness is law enforcement, and when it comes to them, they can just skate off like, oh, it was just a bad accident, or it was, any little excuse for them being held accountable. But with us, and we got so accustomed to our leaders, from Malcolm to Martin to Fred to on and on and on, our leaders being assassinated, and then we see insurrection where they actually going to try and hang a vice president of the United States. And oh my God, we've never seen this before. And no, you've seen it before. You just seen rationalizing with this America environment that's been hostile to us since our very beginning here. So yeah, Malcolm and who killed Malcolm X is par for the course for America, and his daughter should have some answers. His daughter should have some answers about what happened to their parents and the devastation to their family. So yeah.
Eric, go ahead. I'm listening. Eric, if you talk to any of the family of Reverend Dr. King, they all knew that this white man was not responsible. You talk to any of the family of Kennedy, they'll tell you that no, this little hick was not responsible. They knew and believed in their heart that because of the movement and what they were setting and what they were moving for, the moving of the needle, or as you like to say, the breaking up of the caste system and getting the law to change against those who they have oppressed. Now, the three biggest icons of change, one saying we shall overcome, and one saying we're going to get there by any means necessary, and one saying if I get elected, I'm going to make it happen, all die. And you cannot tell me that wasn't, and then they covered it up by blaming it on other people. Now it gives us deeper insight of what we already knew, or it gives white people insight of what black people have already known. The FBI set it up. The FBI did not want blacks to come into power. The top people did not want blacks to come into power, and they did any means necessary to silence the voice. We're talking about 40 plus years now, Eric, that we have not dealt with or even held on to a viable black leader. 40 plus years of waiting for our piece of the rock. 40 plus years of trying to change those things. And you're going to just say, oh, well, we should be focusing on other things. No, we've got confirmation, white America. This is what you have been doing, what we've been saying all along. Deal with it and make that change.
No. So let's get the record straight. I didn't say focus on other things, right? I said that we need to understand what we're focusing on, right? And why we're focusing on it. So the conversation now around this, and I'm not suggesting at all that they shouldn't pursue justice and all of those things. That you miss my entire point. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that, yeah, you go ahead and pursue justice over here. But let's understand that is somebody else's fight, pursuing that, right? We weren't engaged in the pursuit of justice, because if we're engaged in the pursuit of justice within our own communities, then how the F do you have, again, how do you have, and if I just take Newark, right? How do you have what's going on in Newark still going on in Newark? So yeah, go ahead and pursue that. But I'm saying right now, history is being written right now, right? So you want to pause, right? And then all of the injustices that are happening right now, we're not dealing with those, but you believe that we are because we're focused on that. See, and that's and there's the shell game again, right? So you think that the activity, the buzz, all of the memes that are going on social media is because people are finally awakened and they have their foot on the gas. And I'm saying, no, they don't, because this shit is still happening in the community over here. And they're only focused on that thing over there because some stuff made it to Netflix and some other stuff is happening. But they're not looking holistically at it.
Eric, here's my belief.
I understand. You told me your belief. I heard it.
Eric,
But I heard
can
it.
I say it before you actually dismiss it?
No, I'm not dismissing it, but you said it. I heard it.
No. This is a total
Okay, go ahead.
explanation. Remember how I said he who has the goals makes the rules
Uh-huh.
and change the laws?
Right.
You know what also the ruling class does? They control time. Because the ruling class are always looking towards the future. And the lower classes are always looking at the past. This is a part of the past that we have been looking at that now proves to a lot of white people that our country is truly effed up. So in that recognition, as you said, acknowledging that there was something wrong is the only way that we can bring change. This is solid proof, acknowledging that our government conspired against their own citizens who were not doing any crimes but made them criminals, and then set up a black man to take the fall for it.
Right. So if we're waiting,
Hold on. Nobody was set up. Somebody got caught. They caught some people right there. But you give the ruling class too much credit that they control time. But that's like you're saying that the ruling class is God, and no, that's Vincent. You need to revisit that statement. You want to clarify that? You want to clarify it? I'm listening.
Let me clarify saying that they control time. I'm not saying that they can control time or have a quantum effect or control where they can go into the past. What I'm saying is that they control time because they control the history, which put that negative stain and exonerating them for their crimes. And we are constantly, I don't care, you always run into some black people who are always going back to the past. And now this gives them clarification or affirmation of what was really effed up about the past and who was really responsible for it. So, and it is not for the black people, this evidence, and bring it to light that the FBI and the New York police conspire. It's for more of the white people who use that as an excuse to say, oh no, it wasn't them. They were killed by their own. They don't know how to handle things. They don't know how to rule. They don't know how to govern. And they should thank God that us white people do it for them.
okay, yeah, I
people. That's exactly.
yeah. So right. So if the idea is that. So if the idea behind all of this is to convince white people that they're screwed up, right? That's what we're trying to do here.
Eric, don't go. Eric, please, I can't take no more. So
yeah,
Mike did mention Judas and the Black Messiah, which was a great Netflix movie. If anybody wants to check it out, it was really good.
It's on HBO Plus.
I'm sorry, HBO Plus. You're right. Yeah. And they talked about Black Panthers, and they talked about how John Edgar Hoover, again, the FBI, infiltrated using one of our own to go in to kill the leader of the Black Panthers. And you know what's very
Illinois
one thing about history, and this is why you have to know your history. The Black Panthers started the food programs that are used today in government. The WIC program.
They also started daycare centers and early childhood.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Vincent, for throwing that in there. So, for somebody who says that you shouldn't know history, that's very conflicting to even blurt that out. But yeah, so it was really a good movie that people should check out. And it wasn't slighted. I don't know who exactly wrote it, if the family was a part of it when they did it, but it was really a good one.
It's got so many levels to it: the music, the soundtrack, the storyline, and the producers taking liberties were even in line with history. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
They also implemented the TB testing in the urban communities. tuberculosis, which people were working in factories and dying from tuberculosis.
Thank you, Google.
Right.
So the
So
next
we
thing,
right.
Cornell
So
West
so
is
but this is
having
my
fight.
point.
It
So
wasn't Google. This was me.
so part of the thing is, and I appreciate that, right? Talking about history, right? So when you can't, but for me, you can't pick and choose, or we shouldn't pick and choose what history we want to go back and revisit to know where we were, to know where we're going, and then other history say, oh, let's just leave that behind because it's too uncomfortable to talk about, right? I think that we have to look at all of the history, all of it, right? Because it's
Okay, so Cornell West is at Harvard, and again, this is the second time he's threatening to leave because he believes racial discrimination is happening against him for them not giving him tenure. However, they've given other people tenure. And my question is, why are you even at Harvard? Why don't you bring all of your black knowledge to HBCU? And why do you think that Harvard should change their rules for you? Because this is their playground.
well, so I think that I don't know. I would
Can I answer that, Diane?
go ahead.
You have to, yeah.
Okay. Now, first, I want to say this. I agree with you 100%. A man that brilliant should be in the HBCUs to build, strengthen their infrastructure, give them more credibility to their classes and their teachers. I agree 100%. Thinking from, and I'm not in his head, but I would think that one of the reasons is that he wanted to be one of those black people who are in the room making moves and changes in these highly accredited Ivy League schools, which a lot of black people have moved to in the 80s and 90s. They started really infiltrating hard into, yet they accept funding for getting minorities, yet they oppose a teacher, a professor getting tenure. See, the difference between tenure and being a professor is tenure means that he now has ownership in the school, and they don't want to give blacks ownership. A lot of groups, they will take you as a worker, but in terms of them letting you have the keys, hell no. And he's right.
So yeah, I mean, I would love
So
to hear.
would you consider? I mean, if he can't have ownership, would he be? In your opinion, would he be a bottom class?
Would he be a vital class?
A bottom class person, like in the caste system.
Looking at the
Can't
caste
have ownership.
and looking at the caste system, that is a perfect example of using legislation to keep him in the bottom class.
Okay.
They're using the old school thinking of keeping the black man down. Yes, you be a good boy and be our commodity, yet we will not let you deal with the profits of your labor. You get a paycheck and that's it.
Okay.
So
That is discrimination.
right.
What were you going to say, Eric?
Yeah, I would love to hear from him, right? So I'll be reading more about, why he wouldn't, at this point, just go to build up, at HBCUs, right? Bringing somebody like him there, could attract some very brilliant minds to the university that he goes to, right? So, I'd love to hear his thoughts on it. But the struggle continues, right? No matter how, brilliant you are, we can give these anecdotal, well, this one made it, that one made it, this one didn't, that one didn't. But, the system is still in place to, keep bottom people at the bottom, which is, I think, Mike's point about, where they still see, according to Jay-Z's 44, right? Still nigga. That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, there was another article that I read that I thought was very interesting. It's a professor, and he's at Columbia University, a black professor, and he is I would call a functioning addict. He says he uses heroin daily, and he says that the school knows it, and he uses it to function. but he also sees it as recreational as opposed to being addictive. He said it's not addictive, and he's done various studies on it, and he doesn't understand as to why this should not be legalized as well as everything else.
Well, I just say follow the science, right? The science, people are addicted to heroin. So you got this guy saying it. I think that, just follow the science.
Okay, so
the dangerous part about what he's saying is that self-medicating because he can control it a certain way is not a problem, and it should, heroin should be legalized, and its effects on the different people in different ways is kind of confusing to me. Self-medicating is never good.
Right.
But go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah.
His name is Paul Hart. He's the Columbia University professor of psychology and neuroscience. He chairs the psych department and has a fondness for heroin, not only as a subject for scholarly pursuit, but also as a substance for personal use. He states that as rational as my alcohol use, like vacation, sex, and the arts, heroin is one of the tools that I use to maintain my work-life balance. His reason for coming clean about doing opiates and the like is to advocate for decriminalizing possession of recreational drugs. Of course, he has a book that he makes a case, says that the demonization of drug use, not drugs themselves, has been a tremendous scrounge on America, but not least in reinforcing the country's enduring structural racism. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's high on his own.
Yeah. We got another caller. Caller, go.
Isn't that disgusting? Crazy article, right? I think he's disgusting, and I don't think he was being genuine, because he's addicted, right? It is what it is. We can't play with that or act as if there's now different levels of addiction. He also talked about using meth. So he just like dibbling and dabbling when he comes home from work, and we don't need that, right? We don't need that messaging getting out to our children that, you can control your heroin addiction. And honestly, I think he wrote the article because one of his bosses must have caught on. So throw it out there, right? Then you have an argument in case they come and try and take the job. Because it was like, I don't know, and I read the whole article, but I couldn't understand why he wasn't admitting that that's not work-life balance, right? Going home and on Monday, I'm going to have a little taste of meth. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to dip into a little bit of heroin, like a little wine, because that's how he's explaining it, right? Mm-hmm. That's not work-life balance. That's addiction, like you say.
I would be more interested to hear. You're right. I would be more interested to hear what his wife and kids say about his so-called work-life balance.
Exactly.
Because they're the ones that's actually watching the ups and downs of his behavior.
Be like, honey, don't bother daddy right now. He's tying off in the back room.
Right now.
And to add to the story, it's another person that wrote a book. It's a senator or congressperson's son who wrote a book about being addicted to heroin. And in the book, they talked about. I was listening to you the other day, and in the book they talked about him getting pulled over by cops, and cops going through his car, finding drugs and giving it back to him and send him home or take him home, or occasion after occasion after occasion. My example, the reason I bring that up is because if you're black and you have these same experiences, you're going to jail. he can't say that if he appears before a judge and a judge find out that he was on heroin and something happened or he got caught with a certain amount, that he won't go to jail. But he want to decriminalize it for himself. But he don't understand the stigma that's gonna on the black man as opposed to the white man, and it ain't gonna happen for him. And like I said, he's self-medicating, and there has to be residual effects to this that he's not glorifying in the writing like he did, marginalizing heroin use. If I make any sense, the whole statement is crazy.
Yeah, I think
in terms of heroin use, and looking at Nicky Barnes' situation, some of his quotes, he was saying how it is one of the biggest reasons it's so addictive is that it is such a violent withdrawal. And I mean, horribly violent withdrawal. When I was in prison, in holding, when I was in jail, going to prison, and I was in holding, they put me in with a man who was on heroin. And I mean, it's awful. Constantly throwing up, diarrhea, shakes, tremors, chills, the whole thing. And it's a horrible experience. I can't see why someone in good sense, with the simple fact that they are addicted, would want you to legalize that. It's not as simple as something like marijuana, which took years to get legal. I mean, decades to get legal. Yet this is a far more addictive form of self-medication that, he wants to legalize and now because it's legal, induce a whole lot more people because of the simple fact that it's legal so that he can cover up his own sins. And I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
That is horrible to tell a lie because of your addiction that would lead others to the same thing in which you can't even kick.
Yeah. So, I think it's disgusting.
So there's an article, just so you know, Eric, that was in CNN, and I'll post it in the feed. White parents, it's time to do the work this Black History Month.
Well, but we talked about that. And I told you I'm on the second reading of White Fragility now.
Oh God.
And but this is, it talks about it in the book, right? That because of the fragility of white people, they don't want to face it. They don't want to go to that uncomfortable place. They've been socialized to be in the place that they're in now. And so
they don't have to.
Right. And so when you say, so when you say, well, it's time for them to do it, they go, why? What's the impetus for me to do this? Like, for me to do this, you telling me that I got to acknowledge some shit and then give some shit up. Why do I want to do that? Why would I want to give up being a preferred group? Why would I want to do that? Right. So there are.
Why do I want to risk my ancestors be villainized for something that, we controlled the narrative on and made them heroes?
Right. Well, you know what? And I think that, we saw in this past election that, close to 75 million people said we'll roll the dice on that. The people who went down to the Capitol and stormed the said we'll roll the dice on that. But right now, what we want to do is we want to maintain our status. So I think that us waiting for them, right, to do something, there are things that we can, back to what we can do, right? So we can, where we have elected Black politicians, we can lobby them to remove all of these dangerous books out of the schools, right? That's what we could do, right? And now Johnny's got to read this book, and he got to take it home to his white mother and father, and they got to discuss it. He got to do a book report on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if I'm waiting for Johnny's parents to just all of a sudden decide, well, you know what? we benefited, and grandma and grandpa benefited, but it's time for us to give up to give it up for Johnny. He's gonna have to fall down with everybody else now. They're not gonna do that.
And also, I think that Vincent said that they don't want to acknowledge their past, but I think they're very proud of their past, and them conquering and enslaving people. They just don't want to deal with the fact that the fact that they're the people that came before them enslaved people and got extremely wealthy off of it and put them in a certain status.
Right. So Mike, I'm going to correct a little bit. I'm gonna say this.
No mistake. Let's not give them credit that they don't want to deal with this. They are very proud of their history.
Right. And now what I'll say is this, that some of them may not be proud of some of them may want to walk away from the enslavement part of it. They may want to walk away from the rape and the whippings and the hangings and the decapitations, right? They may want to they may want to walk away from those things, but what they don't want to walk away from is how they benefited from it.
Right.
See, they're not going to walk away from that.
We gotta continue to say that they're proud of their history. They're proud of that. They're proud of it. Them not being held accountable to say or even acknowledge it is okay. Well, I'm just gonna stay over here quiet and be proud of it.
And Eric, to add to it, that is the same concept that they did in wanting to remove those Confederate generals who they now glorified for the Civil War. They glorified people who were traitors, just like they want to glorify, just like those insurrectionists, were on that glory mission of restoring. It's the same concept. They don't want you to. They don't want to get the truth in the history because the narrative reflects highly upon them.
So, Eric, you need to go backward, right? So that's also another danger of Black History Month, right? I said to my daughter, who was ragging on me because I won't celebrate Black History Month this weekend, and I said, what is this date to the kindergarten, 5-year-old Black kids? And every February, kindergarten, first grade, third grade. And we only celebrate you 1 month out of the school year. And then within that month, the little black girls, the little black boys, the little white girls, the little white girl boys, they get together and they pick someone. Martin Luther King too, which is not an expansion of our history. It's not a detail, and it gives us like little itty bitty pinch of a history. What does it say, right? So then kids start growing up believing that it is okay because this is what we learned in the school building, that on 1 month of the year, there's a picture of black people around the school building. And we get to do a history or a book report on some black people for this month. I think that's crazy in itself. And that is the danger that we're seeing, because just imagine, Black history's been going on months since I was a kid. I'm 52. We ain't moved no forward. We haven't gone anywhere in the sense that we should be. And so, but I did celebrate Black History Month every year in a school building. I think that is not healthy for black children. I think that if we don't start promoting, like Eric said, every day in every school building, every month, all the time, that there is a history that is not really black history, it is this country's history that they turn their back on. But that's massively important, and I think that's what one of the codes of Black History Month is. I refuse to just celebrate anything for a month. We don't celebrate our religion by a month. We don't celebrate just holidays. And are we a holiday now? Because that's what the Black History Month is, a holiday. And that's not cool.
It's not cool. It's not cool.
That's my t-shirt.
So you mentioned something, Jody, and so did you, Eric, in regards to school parents in a school and what the book should look like, what the education system should be really looking like in the Black community. Well, in one community in California, the entire school board resigned. They were caught on their public virtual meeting criticizing parents and saying that if so-and-so came up to me and asked me anything else about what we're doing on this board, I'm going to F them up. So they were able...
They trying to be funny, but ain't that some BS?
Right, but look, this is an all-white school system and an all-white board, and the parents got together and made all of them resign. So now
they got up out of there.
That's right. Now the county superintendent is going to appoint people until the next election. So fast forward or roll the time back, we had the same situation here in New Jersey, not only in, I think it was Mahwah area, where a black woman student school board member was saying things inappropriately or drinking and stuff like that. And then recently we've had in Newark a school board president that talked down to the parents, and they didn't have that person removed. So you have three different communities, one all white, one mixed, and one predominantly black. And the difference is the white people made their school board people step down, and we're still accepting what they give us, but we want black education to be taught throughout the year. It doesn't make sense.
Well,
that's accountability. You know, it's not all of our community, but in a lot of our communities, when you stand up and we try to hold each other accountable. In a lot of spaces, it's frowned on. Like, oh, you jealous of the mayor, or you jealous of the council, or you jealous of the school board, and they emotionalize it, and you know, it's frowned on. With a lot of white communities, not all white communities, we're gonna vote you out. We're gonna get you out of here, so you might as well resign now. And they hold people accountable. And in a lot of those communities, those people leave. We found on it in a lot of cases in our community.
So this was a predominantly white community?
Yeah.
All right. So understand what happens. Remember I said this to you, and I believe this, that the majority of folk who are part of that, who are beneficiaries of this system, they don't want to relinquish, right, the comforts and the networks and the resources and all of those things that they've been privy to. And it is just a matter of style, right? And so when you have people on the board who speak crassly about these things and they bring light to a situation, they have to be, they have to be cast out, because now you brought attention to a situation, and who knows, people start digging long enough, what other kind of stuff they're going to unearth, right? So, we want to keep things as low key as we can. So I don't think that they're going to, yes, they're going to replace them. But the question is, how did they get to be how they are? And is that system still in place that's just going to produce more of them, right? And if that is the case, and you're not dealing with that, then you're just going to wind up with more. Remember I said, more Agent Smiths. There's just more of me. I love me, more of me. And the system is just producing more of them. And we're kicking them out. We're fighting them. When they are bold enough to rear their ugly heads. Yep, like Vincent said before, it's like whack-a-mole, right? But I want to destroy the engine that's creating the moles and popping them up. I don't want to just keep whacking the moles.
But here's the thing, Eric. At the same time, do give them credit for their parent power. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
We can't. What happened in Newark? That's why I made the joke to Diane, because that's what she said. Some more of this BS, right? I'll go to Fred Hampton. There is people. There is power. That is what we lack in our communities, right? You can't you can't play with them in their community, and I'll give them that as a kudos, right? When in our counterparts neighborhood, when you go to an advisory board meeting, it is all seats taken, standing room only. Everyone is engaged, whether they're keeping their little piece of the pie and keeping it sacred. My God, at least they come and show up, right? If the North Parent Tower was even a third of the number of students within the district, they would be setting rules. She would have had to resign because parents would have said, I want her out. And parents run school districts that are at least good school districts or at least decent school districts, right? That's what they showed. They show that they have parent power and that their parents rule their school district. They say who comes in and who goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And they may do, like Eric said, they may do some gameplay. But at the end of the day, they must listen to those parents because those parents show up.
Sure.
That's the difference.
No doubt.
And it's about value. You're not gonna devalue us. And whereas, when parents are not active in making sure that things are run properly, that's the devaluation of a community.
Right, but again, I want to go back to what it means to run it properly. So let's take South Orange. Remember a couple years ago they had the issue in South Orange school district where a teacher had the kids reenact a slave auction, right? And they did the posters and hung the posters in the school and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, the community came out and responded to that, right? Again, same thing, right? That teacher was so insensitive, so crass that she brought unnecessary attention to the situation. So they said, we got to get rid of her. But meanwhile, while that was going on, so that became a big thing. But the thing that has been going on in South Orange Maplewood School District has been this racial tracking, right? So you look and you see, so you see that on the outside, they give the appearance of this multiracial community, right? You see, you see blacks and whites and Asians all walking together and down in the village of South Orange and Maplewood and whatever, right? But then you go into the classrooms in the AP and the college prep classes and you see all white kids. And then you start saying, well, wait a minute, how can we have such a diverse school, but then when we go into these elite classes, they're not diverse? And then they realize, right, that they were racially tracking bottom kids out of those classes. Meanwhile, right, and so that was done, and that was done at a simmer, right? So it wasn't boiling, so nobody had the attention of it. But then that woman over there did this thing, and they were like, "Oh shit, she just bringing unnecessary heat on us," right? So now they gotta get rid of that. That's what I'm saying. So they expel that. But we got to look at all these other things. So they're not really expelling the thing that created the environment for her to even think about doing that, right? Because the thing is the effed up school system that is still operating to marginalize bottom people and continue to give advantages to those who are part of the upper caste. And that's what's got to be destroyed. So I'm not saying that we don't get rid of the teacher, and I'm not saying that those board members don't resign. I'm saying let us not think that we got to the finish line when they do.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Wow. So, Eric, more on the local. So recently there was a council meeting where the council in the city of Newark approved the sale of Halton Street for affordable housing. This is an affordable housing project. They sold the property for $24,000. However, the property was valued at over $2 million. Over $2 million.
Yeah, 2.4 million. Right.
Yes. And the project head is also asking the city for several subsidies, such as a $5 million in community development block grant, as well as a tax abatement. Right. Now, under normal circumstances, we probably wouldn't pay too much attention to this, except for the fact that they sold the property dirt cheap, that was valued so high. But knowing our history of particular properties and the organization who is part of the joint venture for the developers, which is Omni American LLC, Mid Atlantic Alliance, the National Action Network, and Kawada Towers LP. So if none or some of those things sound familiar, there's a reason. So we already know the National Action Network, Al Sharpton, and Kawada Towers is actually what was started by, and may he rest in peace, Amiri Baraka and his organization back in the 60s. So the council is September the 15th, 1971, and don't even ask me why I know the exact date, because you don't need to know why. But September the 15th, 1971, the Newark City Council approved to give property, to sell property to Kawada Towers LP. And at that time, the whole council, I believe, was all white, but the mayor was Mayor Gibson at the time. They were going to build and purchase a property down in the North Ward. The North Ward, Steve Adubato did not want it there. There was some friction back and forth. They tried to go back to the city. The city attorneys actually were fighting now after Kawada Towers was given approval for the site for purchase, as well as they were given subsidies and stuff from the state. Are now having problems because now that Steve Adubato had jumped into it, senior Steve Adubato jumped into it, the councilman that was in the North Ward tried to pull back his vote, because initially it was an 8-0 vote. One person was absent during the vote. So this went on, and they ended up losing the property. The development never happened. So that was Amiri Baraka's business that he formed. Fast forward to today, now we're getting the sale to the same LP for $24,000. Eric, go ahead.
Well, look, God bless them. God bless them, each and every one. Look, to the victor goes the spoils, right? And try to warn folks about who they are, who they were, and this is what they want. Look, here's my thing. Beyond this, so they're making this move, and somebody called me the other day and said, Eric, so the Latinos on the council, they kind of stepped away from this. I said, yeah, because they can't go back in their community and say that they voted for that, right? I said, but believe you me, what they are going to get, what that community is going to get, is going to be astronomical, right? So we're sitting there, we're focused on this again. So these are all distractions. And yep, somebody made some money. Somebody going to make some money. Somebody might even go to jail. I don't know. But there's a bigger power play going on for the city of Newark right now, right? And I got a call and they're saying, well, with this move, do you think that, Raz is going to run for re-election? Somebody from the North Ward or somebody from, Puerto Rican community going to run against him? I said, nobody going to run against him. They don't have to. See, they would have to run against him if he wasn't compliant. He's compliant. So they don't have to run against him. They'll give him the seat and they'll retain the power. And so whatever was brokered between him and them for the city to be able to make this move, I'm telling you, bottom people going to lose out. Some small group of people won, but bottom people going to lose out. And like I said, some people may go to jail. I don't know. And if they didn't figure this thing out. And, Al Charlatan, Oh God, to have him tied up in this thing, I mean, it's nasty. It's disgusting. But nobody's saying anything, Diane. You
Well,
know,
what I know from history and from experience, we had a mayor in Hillside that sold a property, multi-million-dollar property, to a relative for $1. The political chair ended up pulling her coattail and making her reverse the sale, and she took her seat. So that was all up until she wasn't in compliance, like you said. As long
Yeah.
as she was going with the party and everything was good, the sale was good. But as soon as she fell out with the party, that sale that had to be reversed. So
yeah. I mean, there's no look. And I was talking to some developers as late as this morning, and they were saying, Eric, it's really rough trying to do business in Newark. They said, we try to legitimately go through the avenues of getting property, but when we go, they say, oh, this property is reserved for somebody. This one's reserved for somebody. Said the property that they send to the auction is property that nobody really wants, right? But all of the other property is reserved. So we know how the feds operate, right? And yeah, and so you got to imagine if developers are making phone calls and they're getting run around or being told that these properties are not available, that they're being held or somebody else has them. If I work for the feds and I just make those calls all day, right, and then I keep getting those responses, then I gotta ask the question, well, what is the process by which they are making these properties available to people, right? If every time I call, it's nothing's available, right? When was it ever available publicly? And no, those are real simple questions to get asked and answered by somebody who's with the alphabet boys. So look, hey, you want something to pop your
reminds me of the sweetheart deal all over again.
yeah, you want something to pop your popcorn for? There you go.
Can I say something from an environmental tip? The overdevelopment of our community and under the guise of affordable housing is becoming increasingly dangerous, as we can see from the COVID and our close density and just our close proximity to one another. It became extremely dangerous, and people in our community have to be aware on how the development of our communities are laid out is a health risk, and on top of that, people getting these sweetheart deals, we're being micro-taxed to death in ways that, because if they're not paying for the property, $24,000 towards a $2 million property, they're not paying for the property, and then on top of that, you got to basically give them tax subsidies to do all of the construction and everything. We're getting duped in ways environmentally that we really need to give some serious mental thought to, and it's insulting that this stuff is being allowed by so-called people in government. It's terrible, man. It really is. But that's all I want to say on the subject. I got to roll out of here. It's snowing out here.
Oh, it started
I'm
snowing.
Take my time to concentrate and just listen.
All right, brother. Stay safe.
All right. Peace.
All right. You know what? This snow is I'm done.
Why?
With the snow, I can't. I don't want.
Why?
What do you
You
mean,
ain't shoveling. What's the problem?
Diane?
What? I'm waiting.
I don't have any more house furniture to put out there. I gotta go buy furniture just to put out the whole parking spots.
Oh, you got to put a tent out there this time. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna stick. It's wet.
It doesn't matter now. They've been conditioned. I'm telling you, there is still furniture outside in people's parking spaces.
And you haven't called the cops to have it removed, Eric? You're just slipping.
I know, Diane. I know.
What are you doing? You're slipping.
I know. Anyway, I pray for Newark, and I pray for communities like Newark. But it's just such a bad way, and I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if you can ever really wake these people up, to understand what it is that is taking place. I mean, how do you have a guy who was the principal of a school, right, before he became mayor? Now he's mayor, and people are talking about what his worth is, and that that he's a millionaire. Let that sink in. Okay, so what else do we have on the docket?
Shirley Chisholm is going to be. They're going to be doing a biopic. About Shirley Chisholm, and Regina King is going to play her.
Right. Before we talk about that, can we talk about the Billie Holiday piece that's coming? Right. So I was listening the other day. Who's the director? Who produced or directed that?
I know his name. I can see his face. I can't think of it. Go ahead. I'll look it up. I'll tell you right.
So I was listening to him on on XM or something, right? They had some town hall, and I got a little annoyed because what he said was he was talking about telling our story, right? Lee Daniels telling our story, telling the truth of our story. And how until we have CEOs and Sony and such that we'll never really get these projects financed and the way that they should be and so forth and so on. And I almost swerved off the road on Route 17 in Bergen County when I heard that.
Why? Because of what he said?
Because of what he said. So listen to what he said. So he said, so we need to tell our story. The truth, the raw truth of our story. But we can't do it until such time that we get white folk, right, to hire us as CEOs in their business, right, to be able to do it. And I started thinking about Spike Lee way back when, right, where he maxed out some credit cards, bought some camcorders, and
not even that. Tyler Perry has a whole studio.
No. But forget about. I'm saying or when during the emergence of rap, you had these artists selling their tapes out of trunks of cars, right? They were kind of piecemealing studios together however they could, and they were spitting their rhymes and doing whatever. And so when I listened to Lee Daniels talk about this, I'm like, why do you need Sony, right? There's enough out here. There's enough technology out here. In fact, when my daughter was at USC Film School, they were making shorts with iPhones. Right? I mean, they had other equipment, but they were showing them the technology and that they were producing shorts with iPhones. So, I mean, you can get the story out, Lee. You don't need Sony, right? You could use your social media platform and partner with others in the industry who have big social media platforms, and you can release your stuff there, right? Now, the issue is you won't make money.
I think...
See, with Sony, you'll make the money.
With him is him. Lee Daniels has had a sketchy background, but I think his problem is for him to even make that statement sound stupid, because he runs in a circle with Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. So there's not any reason why he can't get something out.
Money.
To the public.
He wants money. He wants money, right? So if Sony does it, Sony's got money. So the question is, do you want to get the content out, or do you want to get the content out if you can get money?
Right.
See, because if you just want to get the content out, right? I'm going, yo, what's in your head, get it out there, and then push it, right?
Daniels is also the one that had the falling out with the comedian about after her doing the promotions for the movie that they initially did together, and how he threw her under the bus, and how Tyler Perry knew what was happening and would not speak up to him, and as well as Oprah. They all said that because Monique was difficult to work with, they said, or rather, she wouldn't really bow down to doing what they wanted her to do for free when they asked other film artists to do things. They don't ask them the same and or treat them the same at all. So they basically blackballed her. So when anything he says, I always side-eye what he says anyway.
Yeah, I literally almost swerved off of Route 17. I'm saying, really? Is it about, so, I mean, if it's about getting the content out, then get the content out. You can find people through other channels, right?
The issue is one of the big things that Sony does that Tyler Perry and Oprah do not do is Sony has a huge distribution and marketing chain. So the content goes out further, farther with more press and exposure.
Right, but you know what though? But at some point, Vincent, right, we can't keep leaning on the people who are beating us down to help get us up, right? And so, we have to build that stamina of running the race by ourselves.
I agree. I mean, and it's the same thing I had in marketing our show. I mean, the larger groups, they that can get our message out further and farther, and giving a lot more money. Yet they also in their contract they take a lot more control of the content for under the quote unquote legal guise of censorship and following the FTC ruling, and they water down the true Black experience versus and the smaller Black groups, which I'd love to help build and get on. They don't have the resources to make it done. So you're always faced with that challenge in which, myself, I chose to go Black to help build each other rather than to go with white and be deemed or have them control the content and water down what we're actually doing and the purpose of what we're saying. I agree with you 100%. Yet, in terms of Lee Daniels versus Vincent Squire, it's a huge difference with name recognition, body of work, and so forth. And every producer, director, they have to actually deal with it. You look at the effects of Black Panther because it was beautiful movie. I saw it again last night. Wonderfully done, and it was all about Black empowerment. But it was a situation where DuVernay, was with Disney, largest media group in the world right now, and their money and distribution versus her doing it on Tyler Perry, which would get on 3 channels, or 3 studios. You look at Magic Johnson and all the movies that he has produced that, was only limited. And even in those limited spaces, they made a lot of money. So everybody is faced with that challenge. And I'm hoping that, Lee wakes up and does the right thing.
So that's my thought about Mr. Dan.
To show up to now, Vincent, you should be in the thousands by now.
No, we're actually pumping somewhere close to 22,000 on a couple of other different channels.
So, my thing is, do the work, get the content out.
Yeah,
I don't think that.
To answer your question, Diane,
an example, because I think that even though, because most of us know that story, right? But it was amazing. The movie was amazing. The acting was impeccable. But But if you notice on social media, even some black folk aren't really saying what an amazing movie it is, because that's the subject matter that we're kind of afraid to admit to, right? That's the subject matter that people don't really, they'll never be the gentleman that played Fred Hampton, which is one of the best portrayals I've ever seen of one of our people. No one wants to touch that. Hollywood's never going to say that was great acting, just because there is still a stigma there that is, those were the bad black people, and those were the outlandish black people and the militant black people. And so that is why it is not being showcased in social media amongst us as a people or the other. I don't think that really has anything to do with Hollywood and the stretch of our community. I think that's about the Black Panther Party and how it still has a bad taste in the mouth of not only white people, but some of us as well. But we don't want to say that we see Fred Hampton as a hero, or that we see him as a real fighter for justice and that he did the right thing. Some of us still like to believe that he was a bad guy. That's just not true. It's just my opinion.
That's so right. And that's a lot to do with, that we've experienced with the white mainstream media groups. They have always villainized us. No matter what the good we do to the communities, they have always radicalized us. And that puts fear in the heart of white people, and transfer the fear in the heart of white people, where Eric always talks about, we've got those Negro whisperers. Y'all better not be watching that movie. That movie ain't right. That ain't how black people supposed to be acting. And, that part is to stop. But also there is that change that a lot of people are not taking a lot of recognition to, like Netflix, like HBO Plus and Max, like these streaming channels that are huge in terms of distribution and sales, that they should go with. You know what? If mainstream white media, big corporation don't want to play ball with us, fine. There's another league in which we can put our talents in. And like we said, the same thing with Cornell West. We can build better black outlets, better black channels, better black distribution, because we have the better content. We have the better stories. And this is an opportunity to get the truth about us out.
Yeah. So, yeah, to all of that, we have to, dare to, to take a chance.
Remember what we were saying about Nick Cannon and how he was doing all that crying? Like Nick, really? You got the hottest show out in the world. Go find another distribution network. Go Netflix. Shoot, Obama's there. Put your thing out on another channel and stop kissing the ring or the butt of all of these executives who want to exploit you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow.
No, but it is, I agree. I mean, stop begging. Build. Stop begging and build. There you go.
There you go.
Well, they're building in Newark. I'm just saying.
You get major points for that one.
Yeah, building in Newark.
So there has been some controversy with Biden's comments on this loan forgiveness in elite colleges. What he has said, the question I'll start from the beginning. CNN had a town hall meeting last Tuesday with President Biden, who asked if he supported the idea of forgiving up to $50,000 for the student loan debt for individuals. His answer, no. He supports canceling $10,000 in debt, he explained. But he said he is wary of erasing big chunks of loans for people who went to Ivy League schools. Quote, the idea that I'm going to forgive the debt, the billions of dollars in debt for people who have gone to Yale, Harvard, and Penn. Instead, he explained he'd rather use the money for other priorities like early childhood education or making community college free.
All right, you know what? I'm going to take this personally because my kid went to Penn.
Okay, so here's the problem. Regardless of the broader question about whether loan forgiveness is a good idea, Biden's comments do not reflect the true picture of the $1.6 trillion owed by federal student borrowers or of the borrowers who would benefit from the most forgiveness. Most loan borrowers did not go to highly selective colleges because students do not go to those schools. People go to Ivy League schools represent less than 0.5% of the nearly 15 million undergraduate college students in the U.S., and a lot of them don't have to take out student loans to do it. The misconception that higher education graduates are all from elite institutions are pervasive and do not help educate the public about the value of post-secondary education.
But you know what's interesting about all of this? And I think I mentioned this when Lucy was graduating. In that stadium that day, Biden was there because his granddaughter was graduating.
Yeah.
And Trump was there because his daughter was graduating. So this is what I'm saying. I take it personally, right? Because from Biden's purview, right, this is elitism, and so doesn't want to reward that, right? So he says, oh, not these Ivy League schools. But I look and go, yo, I'm a dude from Newark whose grandparents migrated here, from, Bentonville, South Carolina. And, they lived, my grandmother lived in 17th Avenue projects and all of that, right? Give you all that history. And so we made it from there to Penn. And then he makes a statement like that. So I'm not him. I'm not Trump. I'm not, a lot of those people. This is like Lucy, who, made it to Penn. And so the struggles, I'm just concerned that he doesn't, fully understand, right?
I think one of Biden's points is that is the simple fact of elitism is that he's looking at the needs of the many versus the needs of the few. There are very few people, and keep in mind in doing the research, African Americans are the largest in terms of getting student loans for their bachelor's, but white America are the largest in terms of getting student loans for their masters and doctorates. So, he's saying that, we need to focus more on the needs of the many in terms of making free community colleges, which is hugely subsidized by government, which he's going to fuel that up to make it larger, the needs of the many, and versus, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'd love for my child to go and hit Ivy League as well. It's a wonderful thing on her resume. Yet, I also look at, my struggles when I was going to school. And I mean, I started out in community college as well and paying, a huge out of pocket for, graduating. But we look at now, where when I got my bachelor's, I was $32,000 in debt from student loans. Versus my daughter, in her school, and she graduates, she'll be like 60-something to 80,000 in debt. So, let's.
So, students who go to the most selective schools tend to come from wealthy families and pay full tuition. There's 54% of undergraduates at the University of Pennsylvania, for example, didn't even qualify for financial aid, according to the data from the school. At Harvard, the number was 45%. A new report shows that even today, low-income students who qualify for federal Pell Grants make less than 16% of the enrollment of many of these schools. And for students at these institutions who do need financial aid, many offer financial aid packages aimed at keeping students free from student loan debt.
Okay, so I agree, Diane, right? So and AOC did a post this weekend that was like phenomenal with those numbers and she was basically like, what are you talking about? that most of the people he's allegedly talking about is not on that end of burning from student loans, right? So I have a nephew and his wife. They both went to UNC. They owe over $300,000 in student loans together, right? He owns his own business. She's a teacher, been there for 10 years. And he makes phenomenal money. But whenever he's talking to me about wanting to buy a bigger home, that's what he wants. Or that all of the things that student loans have stopped him from doing, listen. But then to come back, right, Joe Biden, and to say, hey, I don't want to do that, right? I want to make this more accessible. Community college, in his mind, right, because we require so little, in his mind, he's saying to this community, right, I'm going to let you go to community college for free. Well, thank God, Eric, that your family came to that city and the migration and the struggle, and so that's where Lucy should have gone. We saw, or your family saw, progression, right? And saw how if you engineer, you can go from here to there.
Right.
Joe Biden is saying, "Hey, put.
Yeah.
I won't let you get out of the ditch, right? But community college, that's cool.
Yeah.
No one's trying to drive their children. We can't survive. Our children can't be successful. Let's not break off of community college. That's because we keep getting put deeper and deeper in the ditch. They keep putting barriers up to hold us back, right? So I don't have a problem with the community college, right? I know lots of people who have started in community colleges and then gone on to a university and then, okay, right? I want my baby at the top. I want Lena to be able to go all the way to the top because that's evolution. That's what your family saw, evolution. And for him to say, no, I'm not going to do the bailout here, but I'm going to give you the whole little extending children in kindergarten. That is messaging, because that's the messaging they always give us. And then community college.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Nope, I agree. What else? Oh,
as Diane stated, I mean, the majority of people who are going through these Ivy League students don't qualify, but for those who are in struggle, who want their children to go there, they do qualify for those grants. That's one of the reasons why he stated that. The people who really need it do qualify and can do it. So why spend all that money for a group of people who can afford it when we have a larger group of people who are in other schools who can't afford it? Let's focus a great deal of energy towards that.
Yep. So, listen, Governor Cuomo's in some deep doo-doo. Right? But wait a minute. Remember I was saying when Cuomo was on the news, right? Remember I was saying, can't attribute all these deaths. We got to look at the governors, right? And look, Murphy's not far from being in doo-doo, right? But remember, I was saying this. I was like, so no, we need to assign blame where it belongs. Cuomo was out writing books and doing whatever, and he was occupying all the time on the TV and on the YouTube Live and on the whatever. Got some problems now.
I thought about you, Eric.
Got some big problems, right? And I want to see, this is where I am. I want to see all of the people who were attacking. I want to see them continue to attack. See, don't let your foot up to use your term, Vincent, let your foot off the gas simply because he's got a D next to his name. Don't do that. These are lives, right? If it was all about lives, these are lives. We have 500,000 in the United States now.
Yeah, and that's a mild estimate because of the lies. And we talked about that at the beginning of the deaths, how we said that no, there are more deaths than what they're actually reporting. And then all this is now bringing truth to what we said.
No, but not just what they were reporting, but remember I was saying how they were handling it.
Oh, definitely.
Remember I was saying that, right? Like everybody was saying, and including that guy. We're talking about Donald Trump. Look over there, look over here, don't look over here. Ah, gosh. Come on now.
The worst thing about it is for me. Worst thing about it was that, Cuomo was in the forefront when New York was the epicenter of the virus. I mean, he got up there, he was begging the president, make this happen, make this happen, make this happen. And everything that he has done for the benefit of, humanity or the people in his state during the pandemic has now put a dark shadow or cast a dark shadow over it because of that inaction.
Right, but there are more inactions too. There are more lies. I told you about the fact that, I was working with a group of people who had access to masks, right? And those guys decided to play politics. Both Murphy and Cuomo. Those are the two governor's offices that we were trying to get in touch with, and we had masks. And he was going on there trying to vilify Donald Trump, talking about he couldn't get PPE and and how much it was costing and so forth so on. But we never got calls back, and we had millions of masks and could have gotten millions and millions of more. And it wasn't about Eric making money. It was about trying to do the right thing, trying to, help fill the gap where I could. But they were so busy playing politics. And I said that back then. I said they're so busy playing freaking politics, trying to get everybody to stop that guy, that they are costing lives. That's what I said.
Yes, you did.
That's what I said. And now they in deep doo-doo. Yo, listen, come on. We got to we got to understand what's going on. And for me, I'm looking at, all lives, right? But you know where I stand. I'm going, who always gets the shittiest end of the stick? See? So, I look at all this stuff with a side eye now. So, so that is the deal with my man, Cuomo. I'm going to give the guy a little bit of oxygen right now. Donald Trump is going to be speaking at CPAC. Right? And there is, folks are arguing whether or not, Lindsey Graham, his head is so far up Donald Trump's rectum, right? That, he just believes Donald Trump, is farting rainbows. But the argument about the Republican Party, who owns the Republican Party, if they can win with Donald Trump, if they'll lose without Donald Trump, will Donald Trump run for re-election in 2024? It's a mess over there right now. So do you look for? Are they looking for McConnell to kind of galvanize them again?
Well, you're now looking at the implosion of the Republican Party. And the big thing with the Republican Party is that they have to face the facts that America is tired of the lies. They're tired of the stalling. They're tired of the indifferences. They're tired of them not standing up for what's fundamentally right. And the two factions of that group are the Republicans with Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, who want to do the rebranding of the Republican Party, and let's now look at the mistakes that we have made, and let's look at changing this in terms of rebranding. And now the new facet of the Republican Party, which is based upon Trumpism. And that's only because Trumpism right now has a huge list of donors for their campaign and a large group of people which they can count on in terms of votes. So that's the implosion and infighting right now. And now, my opinion, the best thing that they can do right now is let Donald Trump and that brand die a slow and painful death, because nobody is looking to go back to all of that. We're not looking at going back to a group of people who don't like the fact that another bottom caste now got people in who are ready to change some legislation to take their foot off their necks. We're not looking at going back to a white supremacist world or a country where they ignore the social needs of the people. No. Let Trumpism die, just like the Tea Party died.
So here's the thing, it's not dying, right? So they pulled out the numbers today, stats today, right, that said that the Trump movement is alive and well.
Yeah.
Right? This is America. And when you say we're not looking to go back, speak for yourself, right? Because it was like when they asked for if Trump created another party, they told Republicans in this country, if Trump created another party, would you be down with it? Over 50% of Republicans said they would go down to the new party. Only 20% said that they would stay with the GOP, and it was like 15% were undecided. Right? When they asked about did they think that Joe Biden? This is today, right? So this is today where some of us argue that the insurrection and all the bad stuff that happened, that people were done with Trump today. Over 60% of Republicans said that it wasn't even Trump's people in the insurrection; it was Antifa. Over lies. No, that's the God's honest truth, right? They just do these.
No. When they said that there was Antifa, those were lies.
No, I didn't say that. I'm not talking about what they said. But 60% of Republicans believed it. Of voting Republicans believed it. All I'm saying is Trump is having an event because Trump is alive and well.
So wait a minute. So here's the other. Here's the other piece.
The people in this country that believe in him.
Right. So Vincent, when you said the Tea Party died, right? See, I think that people thought that was an anomaly, right? And so if you're not connecting the uprising that occurred there and what's going on now, if you don't think that those things are interconnected, right, then I think that we're missing something. So the Tea Party didn't die, right? The ideology, all of those things are intact, right? They just don't call it the Tea Party, but the heartfelt beliefs, right? They just rolled over to 2016. And like Jody said, the momentum is there. The
momentum is there for Trumpism. It's not there for the Tea Party.
No, well, the people who led the Tea Party, where are they with relates to Trumpism?
People who became the Tea Party or were elected under the quote-unquote Tea Party, right now their voices got drowned out when Trumpism trumped them.
No, I'm saying that those are part of the 60% that Jody's talking about now.
I do not agree.
Okay.
Do not agree, because you got some people who were in the Tea Party who were looking at with the rebranding. They were thinking of, no, let's go back to this. And the guy who won, and let's look at if I could go back to that Antifa theory or the Antifa lie, that those insurrections were Antifa, that was started by Trump. Even the guy who was telling him to get those people to stop. Trump said, "Those aren't my people. That's Antifa." He said, "The heck they are. They're wearing MAGA hats and all of that stuff. Those are your people." So, so the blame shifting has to actually, we know the truth of that blame shift. The second point is that the Tea Party actually, in a lot of legislation and changing things, got drowned out and started, some of them said, okay, we're losing our popularity. And then with the insurrectionary thing, they started saying, okay, we need to rebrand. They were like, well, let's go back to the Tea Party. No, the guy that went to kiss Trump's ring said, no, we're not going there. We need to stick with this. That was part of the big divide or the civil war between the Republican Party, is that they don't know where to go. And if you cannot continue a system and belief upon lies and cronyisms. We've noticed that in 2020, in 2019 and 2020, cronyism has gotten us nowhere. It has not moved the needle. It has not gotten the country safe for blacks or for poor whites. Yet poor whites believe in that mystique and whatever he says, okay, because he is our leader. That part is what I'm saying needs to die a slow and painful death.
So according to Pew Research, Eric is right. Put out an article, and it has lots of numbers, so you can go look it up if you want to. And the title is Trump's staunch GOP supporters have roots deep through the Tea Party. Okay, but I'm not going to argue that. All I'm saying is it doesn't really matter, right? When we're talking about when they can tell you that 60% of the Republican Party still is staunchly behind Donald Trump. That's not about Trump anymore, right? That's about us, the people. When you start talking about, let that go away or that's gonna die, it's alive and well. You tell me when the last time a president, in not even 45 days into the new president's term, can set an event and everyone's going to go, right? Normally a president goes away, stays away for a good 6 months at least, and then we start hearing things about their library. What they're going to do about this over here. They have no other choice. The GOP has no other choice but to stand with them, because if they don't, they'll die. And that says so much more about this country than it does about Donald Trump. It says so much more about what people in this country were looking for in a Donald Trump, because he is just as popular, even with the insurrection, even with the lies he told, even with all of the dysfunction that we've seen in the last 4 years. Today, he's still their guy.
Well, did you hear but you heard what Lindsey Graham said, right? Lindsey Graham said, I want to win.
Absolutely.
That's what he said. I want to win. And so you understand, what is winning? What does winning mean? Like, so to me, it's not just winning an election, right? Because we talked about how that corporation has an undefeated record, right? So they want to keep winning. So they recognize that the way to win is to be with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a bumper sticker right there. The way to win is to be with him. Trump 2024. Woof. If they steal it, they owe me.
I don't want to see that any more than anyone else, right? Like, I don't want to say it, but yeah, I want him to die a slow death. I want him to die a quick death, right? But this is where this country is. This is the space we are in. His supporters are extremely, extremely loyal, and they believe him. And whether we think they're cuckoo birds or not, they believed everything he told them. do not believe that Joe Biden won this election fairly, right? Based on the black vote. Don't forget that. Right? They do not believe any of what we think is this left-wing media. They are not buying any of that. And they are waiting for him to come back and take over this country.
And as long as we live in the bubble, right? This left-wing media bubble, right? And we're not paying attention to what's being narrated to them, right? We'll think that, we'll think differently about what the reality is. So, which is why I told you I banished CNN and MSNBC from the house, because they're dangerous. They're dangerous. They don't tell. I mean, the other station doesn't tell the truth either. But I know that those people over there are listening to whatever it is they're saying, and that's why I listen to them. In terms of MSNBC, CNN, the rest of them, they're not, they're not training up an army to be able to defend itself against, the attack that's gonna come. But it is gonna come. Anyway, what else is there? Is there anything in these last couple? We got 4 minutes. I'm kind of afraid to delve into something too deep.
Well, there is the confirmation hearing of the Attorney General, Garland, and also a big unknown secret is Biden had secretly targeted 2 black women to be promoted to general. And everybody wanted to know why he kept it such a secret. So they revealed that he didn't want to bring it out, that he was looking at filling those places because he didn't want Trump to find a need to do it. So he wanted to underserve Trump, and because he didn't care about it, and took advantage of filling those places with 2 black women, promoting them to general in the United States Army. The other thing is they're questioning the Attorney General hard because of Biden's view of now bringing back the investigation for things like arrest and unfair treatment of blacks and incarceration. Also straightening out why do blacks suffer more and get more parole hits when they are incarcerated, and the effects of bringing in more programs for formerly incarcerated. So they're pushing that policy. Also, they're questioning him about going after people in the upcoming investigations. Will he publicly scandalize all of the people in the former Trump administration for their atrocities? And would the Attorney General be going after the past president and his cabinet?
Nah, they ain't gonna do that. They ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna do that. So, all right.
By the way, the Supreme Court just ruled that Trump has to turn over his taxes.
Yeah.
This morning.
Okay. Well, he has to do that.
So you're looking at more prosecution coming in with Trump. More than likely, he won't run for 2024 because he's going to have a whole lot of legal cases.
Well, we'll see. So listen, guys. 500,000. I'm sorry, 500 million. 500,000. No, 500,000 people. 500,000 people. Over 500,000 people dead in the U.S. They said that is the population of Sacramento. They said, if you wiped out everybody in Sacramento, that's what it looks like. Yo, keep masking up. They're saying 2022 we're going to be in masks.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, so I got shields now. I got masks and I got shields. I'm going to be looking for. Have you seen? I know we're almost out of time. Have you seen those clear balls that they play soccer in them. Like you can actually, a human being can fit in this ball and you roll and you're actually like a bumper ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen those, right? See, they should make them so that you can walk in them, right? Because think about it, it as big as it is, between if you had one on, if you were in one and I was in one and we were walking down the street and bumped into each other, literally, we would be about 6 feet apart from each other, right? And we would be sealed in the bubble. They just have to figure out how to make doorways in like Costco wider for us to get in there. That's all. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. Mike Sproul, man, thanks for calling in. Stay safe on the roads. I hear it's snowing. I don't know what the accumulation is going to be.
Yeah, turning the rain down here.
Oh, has it? Okay. Jody, good hearing from you again. Stay safe. I got to make one run, then I'm coming back home and I'm going to be watching Netflix. So that's my day. Diane L. Murray Clemens, thank you. Vincent Squire, thanks for your input as well. We look forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow's D. Giovanni Day, Tuesday. Make sure you guys tune in. Hope her voice is back. See you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for tuning in.